South African Airways will be taking to the skies again next month. Tickets are currently on sale for regional routes. According to the interim CEO of SAA, the airline won't be needing any money from Treasury and has enough funds to restart operations. Let's bring in the Public Enterprises Director General, Kgathatso Tlhakudi, who joins us now via Zoom. Thank you so much, DG, for making time. So SAA expected back in the skies next month. As a shareholder, do you think the airline is ready and in a good position to get back to business?
Good afternoon, Clement, and thank you for having us on your show. We have a good team at Clement that has managed this interim phase. We have had a dedicated board, really a very energetic executive team in place. They worked very hard to ensure that the relaunch of the airline is successful, that the operations, despite still a very tough market that we're going into, that it is a successful operation. We have reviewed their plans on our side, and we are happy that the risks associated with relaunching operations have been well taken care of.
My understanding is that the resumption of flights is pending the conclusion of the due diligence process with the airline strategic equity partner, the Kgathatso Consortium. If that's the case, wasn't it premature then to make this announcement when that deal is not really complete?
Yeah, in our planning, we had always provided for an interim flying phase on the basis that the business still needs to be able to take care of itself while the transaction is running, obviously, its course. And that is that phase of the planning that we are dealing with now. There has obviously been discussions also with the consortium to make them aware of the plans that will be unfolding, so that obviously they are not caught by surprise, and they also understand the quality of planning that has informed this phase. So we have taken care of those consultations. So this is the logical plan that we had put in place from the beginning when the restructuring started.
But how far is that due diligence process that's being undertaken by government and the private equity partner?
Yeah, well, now that we are working on finalizing the share sale and purchase agreement, which was obviously has been informed by the due diligence that was done, all the the issues that both parties need to have raised are being negotiated and being finalized now at present. So I would say we have come to the end of that due diligence phase. Now it's a matter of ensuring we have an agreement which satisfies both parties. That's what we are doing.
There are several parties that have raised concerns, DG, about the lack of transparency with these negotiations and the deal. Can you be transparent with us and tell us which other private partners were considered for the deal and why the Kgathatso Consortium came out best?
Well, I think the fact that we announced the preferred SEP, it shows the level of transparency that has informed this process, and the fact that we've been upfront in terms of where we are in the process of concluding the sale of a majority stake in SAA. The nature of these deals, Clement, is that normally what would happen is that once the parties have had a meeting of minds and there's been the signing off of the sale and purchase agreement, would the announcement be made and obviously the details be shared. The fact that we've been this open, I think, shows the transparency. And anyone who has been involved in these sort of transactions would be able to vouch that the level of transparency that has informed, the openness that has informed our process is to be commended. And all that would say is that people need to exercise a bit of patience. Details will obviously emerge once the agreement is signed off. And when people bid for these kind of stakes. They don't like to, if things don't, if they are not a successful part, they don't like to be announced. There's confidentiality elements that that are signed on with this sort of process elements. So we are not acting out of the ordinary, so to speak, with this process.
The private partner committed providing about 3 billion rand in the beginning. Doesn't SAA need that money for the restart?
Well, the plan, which is basically the post-takeover plan, will inform the eventual numbers, and in due course we'll share those. The government has been very clear in its engagement with various partners that the funding for the business beyond takeover will be the sole responsibility of the strategic equity partner. And it is no different with Kgathatso. We'll expect them to provide the capital that the business will require going forward. And in due course, we'll inform you as to what the amounts are. Obviously, the due diligence, one of the areas that we need to touch on as you do that is also the valuation of the business, yes.
Yeah. You've indicated that SAA, it's a tough market that it's getting into. So it's re-entering the domestic aviation market at a time when passenger demand for airline travel remains subdued and significantly lower than pre-pandemic levels. I was looking at the International Transport Association, which estimates that the 2019 levels of demands for passenger air travel will actually return only in 2024. So how do you think the airline is going to survive? And what about the trust in brand SAA? Because that's another challenge. How do you re-establish that?
Well, I think the buzz that has associated the announcement of the relaunch of the airline shows how strong a brand SAA is, and the restart plan, including the route selection by the team at SAA, was informed by also the load factors on those on the routes that they've chosen to start with. And we expect SAA to do very well and to be able to capture more than its fair market share when it starts operations. I guess the reaction as well from the competitors shows how important and cardinal this step that SAA took was as well to the industry. Because if SAA coming in, it's also likely to bring in those customers as well, because obviously it has a very healthy and strong loyalty program. Some of those passengers will want to get back in the air, of course, with SAA flying now. So we are quite confident that it will be able to hold its own. But most importantly, there will be a positive effect on the rest of the airlines with SAA coming in due to the strong brand that SAA is.